Did you know I'm Irish?
I am actually a little bit of Irish as
You
well.
are?
Yeah.
I hope we're not related.
Hey guys, I'm Eric.
I'm Grace. We're the Wandering Ravens.
And we are back! We've been away for about a week now. I'm sorry that we've missed 2 uploads, but as you all know, we had to travel from one country to another country. We were originally in Paris, in case you're just joining us now. But we are now in a new country. We're gonna get back on schedule and keep the British culture videos coming for you. So if you enjoy British culture, make sure you subscribe to this channel. And since we're taking it a little bit slow to start off, we thought we would begin with a Reddit reaction video. We haven't done one of those in a while, and there are some fun ones which you guys have sent our way. And the topic is, what are some definite no-nos to say to a British person?
And for those of you who are curious, make sure that you stick around until the end of the video where we will be telling you what country we are now residing in.
I don't even know which country this is. She brought me here with a bag over my head. My US friend asked me, and all I can think of is, let me warm up that tea for you in the microwave. Personally, Grace and I will never own a microwave. We don't believe in microwaves.
We believe that they were invented by the Illuminati.
Oh.
There's some disagreement in our household on how microwaves were invented.
But we agree that they are evil and should definitely not be allowed in the kitchen.
If you hear weird like scratching noises or like baby noises, it's because there's a cat in here. And it's trapped itself under a box.
It's making quite a ruckus. Sorry about that, my blokes. What are some things that you would say, definite no-nos to say to a British person?
Well, the one that immediately pops to mind is, do you know the Queen, or have you met the Queen? Which we've heard is apparently a pretty common thing that Americans say to British people.
It's kind of stupid considering how it's the same thing as asking an American person, have you met the president?
Like,
Who's met the president?
Who would want to? I'm Irish. No, you're not. You are American. F*** off.
Oh yeah, we have talked about this in previous videos, and this is a sin which many Americans commit. If you come to America or encounter Americans in the UK, it is very likely that if one of them has either Scottish or Irish ancestry, they will let you know.
Did you know I'm Irish?
I am actually a little bit of Irish as
You
well.
are?
Yeah.
I hope we're not related.
But yeah, I have heard Americans say, excuse me if I drink a lot tonight, you know, I'm Irish.
You're like, honey, you're already tipsy and we've just walked in.
All you did was waft it. Question for you. When an American person says that I'm Irish, what is your best comeback? What would you tell them? As for comebacks, it looks like we have some fun ones down here in the comments. That's an interesting Irish accent you have there. Where's that from? I'm Irish. Oh, cool. Were you born in Ireland? No. What about your parents? No. What about your grandparents? No. You'd be speaking German if it wasn't for us. Oh, that's a pretty bad one. I have a hard time believing people actually say this though. This is something that I hear a lot of people, Brits, complain about Americans saying, but I can't imagine that a person would be obtuse enough to actually say this, or rude enough. It's a very rude thing to say. Joke's on them. My Duolingo lessons are going quite well.
My personal comeback would be, dude, you were not even sperm in 1945.
I would say, Gesundheit.
If you are a Brit and you've had someone say this to you, if it weren't for us, you'd be speaking German. Please let us know how that went. What was your response to that extremely rude and ignorant thing to say? Would you like some gravy on your biscuits?
Oh, that one's funny because in the US, we call biscuits different things than what you guys call biscuits.
Oh, okay. I missed that. I was like, why is this a bad thing to say to a British person?
We do put gravy on our biscuits, and it's really quite good. But if you've had it and you're judging it, don't judge it based on hotel biscuits and gravy, because hotel biscuits and gravy is shit. You need to have it in a proper restaurant like Cracker Barrel.
Or a proper household.
Yeah, have a genuine Southern person cook it for you. You know, the kind of person that pours you sweet tea so sweet that your spoon stands up straight. And whenever you say something stupid, taps you on the shoulder and says, bless your heart. In Northern Ireland, are you British or Irish? Bonus points for doing it in the wrong pub. Oh, that would go south so fast. one of the responses to this is, knees are overrated anyway.
All right, Governor, would you like a cup of tea? Off, but yes, and 2 sugars, please.
We're very sorry about the terrible British accents. I think that the reason why American tourists like to do that is because of Mary Poppins.
That there is what you might call a doorway to a place of enchantment.
When I was a kid, I thought Dick Van Dyke was British for the longest time, until I was a teenager.
You thought it was just a real British accent.
Yeah, I was just like,
This is how people talk there.
yes.
This is how the Queen talks. Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins!
Mary Poppins, you look beautiful.
I could care less. No, you couldn't care less, you idiot. Now, I'm actually gonna pause the video here because this is something that we hear a lot in our comment sections. We hear it in a lot of British media. Shout out to David Mitchell.
She could care less. That, as an expression for not or hardly caring, just makes no sense.
I believe this is actually a myth. It's not an authentic stereotype and is instead a really great example of a type of cognitive bias called outgroup homogeneity.
Whoa!
Yeah. To back me up on this, I'm going to read you an excerpt from this great book called The Prodigal Tongue. It is written by a linguist and is about the differences between American and British English, or nation lex, as they're called. Previously to this quote, the author is talking about cognitive biases in both British and American English, and then jumps into this. A related cognitive bias means that we tend to stereotype members of groups we don't belong to, but we see the individuality of people in our own group. This is called the out-group homogeneity effect. Just as you are much more likely to hear an exasperated woman say, "Men, they're all the same," than to hear an exasperated man say, "Men, we're all the same." It's hard for Americans to think of themselves as all the same, but easier for them to make generalizations like the British are so polite. In other words, stereotyping other groups is easier than stereotyping your own group. Along these lines, not one, but 2 British comedians, David Mitchell and John Cleese, have released online video rants instructing Americans that they are wrong in saying the phrase, "I could care less," rather than "I couldn't care less." Why do they pick on Americans? Some Americans use could care less, but many don't. Especially not in writing. There are more instances of couldn't care less in the corpus of contemporary American English than could care less, at a ratio of about 3 to 2. I'm sure that hearing "I could care less" strikes Cleese and Mitchell just as sharply as it strikes me when I hear English people say "me mother" to mean "my mother." But if I ask them, why do Brits always say "me mother?" I'm sure they'd answer that only some people do this, and those people probably don't even do that all the time. Well, right back at ya, comedians. And I think this is a great point. I've heard many Americans, ourselves included, go on at very great lengths about the terrible practice of saying "I could care less" instead of "I couldn't care less." For a pop culture example, check out this song by Weird Al Yankovic.
Like I could care less. That means you do care.
Basically, most Americans know that this is a mistake, most Americans don't do it, and the Americans that do it regret it. And it's also not a uniquely American thing. I have heard British people do it as well. I just think it stands out to British people's ears because they've heard so many other British people say that it's an Americanism, and is therefore kind of a a confirmation bias.
Yes.
Yes. All that to say, I could care less about this issue, so let's move on.
When you learn about the War of Independence in school, are you the good guys? So much no.
As was shocking for us when we first found out, apparently British people don't learn about the War of Independence in school.
We think that everyone should know American history. But
Yes.
we don't need to know your history. For example, learning that the Queen's name is Elizabeth II is of no importance.
You mean there's a first one? You may call me ignorant. I prefer the title Yank. Of course, in all seriousness, it does make sense that British people don't really learn about the War of Independence given that you lost. Wow, you know. Woo. But seriously, it does make sense. No, it's just too easy. I can't. But I know. Yeah, I'm sorry. It does make sense though, considering how long British history is, that you would focus more on your triumphs than on your defeats. I'm not saying it's an example of rewriting history, but Let's move on and pretend that conversation never happened. Similar to how the British pretend the American Revolution never happened as well.
Are you Australian? No, I am not.
I have heard people, Americans, say this because, as we've mentioned before, Americans tend to only recognize two British accents as being British, that being the RP accent as well as the Cockney accent. And any other accents, Geordie or, Yorkshire.
They might not know that you're
Liverpool.
British at all.
Yeah, they might think you're Australian or South African. Americans do also recognize Scottish accents, but a lot of Americans don't actually know that Scotland is part of the UK. And if you have a Welsh accent, Americans don't even know that Wales exists.
For the most part, this is how it goes.
Yeah.
I think generally, you and I can tell Australia and New Zealand as our own separate thing. Like, I've never asked a British person if they were Australian or an Australian if they were British. I've also never met an Australian with a super weak accent, though.
That is true.
Their accents are usually super thick.
Australians are a bit like Americans in that you can hear them coming from a mile away. Let me pour that tea in the harbor for you. I think the problem with this is that most British people wouldn't get it.
That's true.
They don't learn about the War of Independence.
So they don't know that we dumped a bunch of good tea in the harbor.
We dumped a bunch, even to this day, Boston Harbor, if you go dip a finger in, still tastes like tea.
But I feel like of all the revolutionary history that would be taught in British schools, that might make the cut because
It was such a shameful act.
it was such a terrible thing to do.
Destroying all that good tea.
All that good tea.
It's all right. We dump tea in the harbor. You guys burn 5G towers. We can call it even.
If you enjoy British culture content, make sure you subscribe to this channel as we are releasing new videos every single week and you don't want to miss out on any of that goodness.
And now to the three of you that are still watching, let's talk about where we are. Where are we?
We're in Germany!
Hey, Schnitzel!
Listen, don't mention the war. I mentioned it once, but I think I got away with it all right.
Yes, we are now in Germany. We took an 8-hour train ride here from Paris. It took quite a while to get over here.
It took 3 trains and 1 tram, so
Yeah.
that is many different vehicles.
We are staying in the city of Bremen, and if all goes well, we should be here for a little over a month. While we're here, we would love to make a video comparing some differences between British culture and German culture. So if you know any differences between British culture and German culture, if you've spent time in each country, do drop those comments down below. We would love to learn from you. We haven't had too much of a chance to get out into the city, out into the German public yet, and so we haven't noticed too many differences ourselves yet. But as we do, we will be sure to let you know. Again, thank you guys so much for your patience this week as we missed a couple of uploads, but we are back on schedule, coming at you with British culture content, and we will see you in the next video.
Auf Wiedersehen!
Back away, internet people.